All right, we still got everyone joining in here. This is going to be an educational webinar introducing Foundation's new product called Takeoff HQ. It'll be one of our many HQ suite of products, and we'll be doing the introduction to Takeoff today. I'm just going to let everyone get a chance to join in. Still got some people join in, so we'll give it a couple minutes before we actually go ahead and get started. To anyone that is in here that hasn't looked, we do have a handout in the webinar with the brochure for Takeoff HQ. If you guys want to have that for sending off to anybody else at the company, so go ahead and take a look at that. Throughout the webinar, you can ask questions and throw them in the chat, and we will try to get to as many of those questions at the end of the session as we can. So again, introducing Takeoff HQ Foundation's takeoff and estimating solution that will be thrown under our HQ suite. I will be presenting. My name is Dylan Kilpatrick. You'll see my phone and email here. I'll also flash this on the screen at the end of the session as well, so that if you guys want to take a further look at Takeoff HQ at a future point, you can definitely shoot me an email. We can get something set up to take a more personalized look. Today we do have a lot of different trades signed up and in this webinar. I will be doing a takeoff using a concrete system. So I'll be doing a concrete takeoff. And that's just to say, if you are one of those other trades, we can bulk import items and build out the systems to your guys' specifications. It can work for other trades, but kind of hard to hit everything. So just keep that in mind. We do have a couple other takeoff and estimating solutions, or estimating and digital takeoff solutions as well. So like I said, Takeoff will fall under Foundation's HQ suite of products, but we also have a couple other estimating platforms, McCormick Systems and Edge Estimating. If you do fall under one of the trades that are shown here, whether it be electrical, plumbing, mechanical, acoustical, drywall, fireproofing, so on and so forth, Takeoff might not be the best solution for you. We might have a better solution for you in terms of takeoff and estimating. So again, if you see your trade here on this slideshow, shoot me an email. I can get you set up to look at one of those other systems, but we did just want to point out, if you did get into this webinar, that we might have a better solution for you that is not Takeoff HQ. So here's the slide on Takeoff HQ. We have simple customizable assemblies, area, length, and count measurements. We can bulk upload material, labor items. Your blueprints are stored directly to the cloud. This is cloud-based. It's quick, it's fast. And at the end of the day, the biggest thing is that it's going to seamlessly integrate with Foundation. And we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll actually show you the functionality. So here's Takeoff HQ. Again, it is fully web-based. When you upload your digital blueprints into the system, they are available whenever you guys need them, as long as you have internet access. So if someone is out on the field and they need to pull up blueprints, they can 100% pull up those blueprints. This does connect into Foundation. So up here, we can actually go into Foundation, and it will connect into the database for cost codes and cost classes, allowing you to connect the two systems. We can bulk import your items using the item manager screen here and get your specific items for your guys' specific companies and tailor this to your guys' entry in the item area. And then under the item, if I open that up, you'll see where that cost code and class down here at the very bottom will come into play. So these will come directly from the database, allowing you to connect the two systems together. We can bulk import items, so I can actually download with data. So I'll go ahead and download this Excel file and just show you an example of what an import template would look like. If you guys have a couple thousand items, or even if it's a couple hundred items, we can go ahead and get those all into the system with the upload and customize the system to your guys' needs. We then build out those items and build out your assemblies in the system, custom again to your guys' needs, and then we will throw those items into custom assemblies, and then that's where we can actually get into our takeoff. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back into the bid prep manager. and actually go ahead and start a bid and show you guys how easy and how fast doing a takeoff with Takeoff HQ is. So I'm going to go ahead and just give my bid a name, put in a description for sake of just keeping everything flowing and you know, because this is kind of a busy part of the day and a busy part of the week being Wednesday. I'm just going to go ahead and keep moving through. You guys can add your address, city, state, zip code, start dates. We can choose the units that we're measuring on, and then we'll just press create bid. I can click then down into the bid, and this is where I'll get into kind of the meat and potatoes of the system. I can put in any notes, I can put in contact information, and then I will work my way down this banner on the left-hand side to actually start my takeoff. I will go to Files, and I can actually upload my digital blueprints. So on here, I can upload just a single blueprint. I'm going to go ahead and upload multiple. You guys can upload a PDF that had a bunch of, you know, drawings and then pull the specific ones into the system. And it accepts multiple different types of, you know, uploads there. And we just press open and add. And those are now official, you know, a part of the system. They don't have to be stored on a desktop and linked into a desktop file. You guys can delete them off your desktop and they'll always be available for you within Takeoff HQ. Again, like I said, if you're on the, you know, if you're someone's out in the field and they need to pull up a blueprint out in the field, we can definitely go ahead and pull that up. I can open these, I can change the names in the system. I can open them up in the image annotator and, you know, do markups and annotations as needed and keep, you know, track of those for anyone else to see. These are, you know, it's web-based, and if you guys have multiple estimators, other estimators will be able to come in here. If you guys are collaborating or have multiple estimators working on something, they can all log in, they can all, you know, come in here, make adjustments and work on the takeoff together. I'm gonna work my way down after uploading the file. I'm gonna get into the build section here. And this is where you'll see the picture, you know, those blueprints that I uploaded are, you know, available there. And I'll be actually able to assign them onto the scenario. I add the pages, and it'll create 2 pages for the different ones. And then over here on the right-hand side is where I can actually go into the system and add my assemblies. Now, if I need to add an assembly that is just specific for this job, I can come over here and add a new assembly on the fly. Or I can go from the existing database that we would help you guys build out, and I can add from the database. So I'll just go ahead and come in here and add a handful of assemblies that I'll go ahead and do my measuring. I'll confirm those. If there's something that you know you have in the system that you want to go ahead and copy, maybe something like if you only had a 4-inch slab and you need to go to a 6, or maybe I needed a 5-inch slab, I can click on this and I can actually copy it. I can make my changes. If I was going to like a 5-inch slab, I would change the dimensions of my height. I could come up here and change the name, and then I can save that in the system, and it would actually add that in here. If I want to sync that into the database, I can. So you can either choose to just have that available on a particular job, and I can also sync that into the database and push it into my available assemblies moving forward. From there, I would actually go in and assign my assemblies onto the different pages. Like that, and then I can actually jump into my takeoff. The first thing I'm gonna have to do is set my scale. So if you're looking at a plan, it will have a specific scale typically somewhere, you know, on the plan that the architect put on there. We usually would recommend that you would go in and actually set the scale manually. So instead of setting it based off of a default scale, we would actually go in here and put in a manual scale where we would actually measure a known line, and it would set the scale just to double check to make sure there wasn't any issues with the drawing that the architect did, or when it was forwarded over, if the scale got messed up or the sizing of the actual blueprint got messed up, you would set it manually. I'm just for sake of demonstration, am going to go ahead and just set a default, you know, from the default scale there on both of these pages. I set my scale, and then now I can actually go in and start doing my takeoff. So if you've used a takeoff solution with any other you know, platforms, this is going to look fairly similar, fairly easy to use. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm choosing an area calculation, and I'm just clicking points. If I don't like a point that I selected, I can press escape, and I can start over, or I can backspace and go right into a new line. So it's fairly easy to go ahead and use, and you just zoom into the points that you're trying to hit. So quick, easy, doing your measurements on the fly, all in the system. It's going to calculate those based off of the calculations that we have set up in the system. I zoom into my points to make sure I'm getting an accurate point that I want. I zoom out and I just choose my next line. I can move over, do my points, and do my calculations. If I'm happy with that, I can stick with that. If I need to move any of the lines around, I can choose and move those lines around if needed. And I can do my area calculations. I can click on another one, so going from like a 4-inch slab to a 6-inch slab, if we have like a spot up here that is a 6-inch slab, I can come in here and do that measurement as well fairly easily. On something like this that has a lot of right angles, I can even snap and do our ortho measurement here, which will just basically keep my line at a 45-degree angle and make sure that the lines are nice and straight for stuff that is kind of perfect like this one. And I can make all those selections and just go through quick, easy, all while doing those calculations. You'll notice it's doing square footage calculations over here, and then that's going to spit out our material and our subcontract and our labor estimates on the other side. The other things that the system can do besides area is going to be just standard length calculations as well. So I can come in here and I can do a strip wall footing, and I'll just go ahead and do a continuous line. I can zoom in and I can choose a point and then drag it across. And do those measurements. I can also do basic count calculations, so that's going to be really easy for the system. So for here, I have column footings. I can simply come in here and I can mark my counts in here as well for basic count calculations based off of whatever's in the system. Now, when I finish my whole assembly, I'm happy with all of the drawings that I have. I can look and see all of the calculations that are in there, whether it be the slab plan or it be the area plan here as well. Once I'm finished, I can drop down into the estimate area in the system. And this is where I'll actually get into where those numbers from the assemblies spit out calculations for ordering materials and the estimate. I can sort this. I usually typically tend to sort by type, and I can see any kind of subcontract labor, material, labor cost. That will list down if I want to turn specific things on or off on a specific assembly, I can do that as well right from here, and then I can come into the cost area and I can actually change the cost on the fly. So for a specific project, we want to kick price down or kick price up, make sure that we get it. We can go ahead and change those on the fly. It'll redo the calculations. We just go ahead and save the estimate, and it'll update everything for materials, labor down here at the bottom. We can set standard markups from here as well. So I can go into the material area. You'll see I have a tax markup already pre-built onto here. I can also add a line item and put in a standard or custom markup on a project by project basis. And I can press confirm and it'll change those calculations. I can also do things like put in labor burden, so I can keep track of like a markup for labor burden or an overhead markup, and also at the end of the day, your profit markup here as well. I can change this on the fly if I want to go from 10 to 5, make sure we really want to get this job, we'll mark up the profit a little bit less. We can do that as well. I save that, and then this is where I can actually download my reports and download a summary or a detail summary for like purchase ordering, so you guys can order materials. So it'll kick you out a material order list for you guys to be able to do your purchase orders. So I can see concrete and I can see all my other items built into here as well, and their ordering quantities and their price quantities. I can go into the system and I can download a recap so that you guys can take that information and build out your bid. And I can see all my materials, any markups and total costs. So I have my total material, total labor, equipment, so on and so forth, contracted price. So you can build out that in the system and have access to this wherever. If you guys need to come back in and make adjustments after the fact, you can come right back in here and make adjustments. This isn't set in stone. If you guys need to do multiple scenarios and price out scenarios separately, we can right click and we can copy up here through the copy feature, and we can duplicate the scenario and we can price out different scenarios separately. And then when we get into actually pushing the budget and we're actually good with the budget into Foundation, we can choose which scenario was the one that was awarded, on the bid. Once we're happy with everything that we've done in the takeoff, let's just say we've won this project and we want to push this into Foundation so it creates a project and a job, I can go to my overview screen. I can go to my Foundation export. I can push it into an existing job if I want to. Most people will probably tend to push into a new job. I can choose the scenario that I want to push. And I can go ahead and put in my job name and I can press export. It'll take a second and it's going to export and it'll show in the event so you'll know if a job has been exported or not. And then I can open up Foundation, and this is where that seamless integration with the cost codes and classes being connected into the items. When you're doing your measurements, they'll flow directly into Foundation via the job budget. So when we go into jobs, instead of doing a job upload manually or entering it manually or doing it through a CSV export and import, we can just hit this validate third-party job. We can choose that webinar with that name that I just created, and I can actually validate and pull that into the system. So this is going to stop, with the seamless integration, it's going to stop any duplicate entry back and forth. It'll also help you guys so you don't have to have as much user error, because typically if you're entering a lot of line items, you can run into a lot of user error when entering. So when I click over here to budgets, I'll see my cost codes and classes broken down. I'll see, the totals, and I'll see the breakdowns and even like the labor burden breakdowns based off of those markups here. I can save that in the system. It'll validate it, and then now that's just an available job in the system. If I hit the drop down and scroll down, I'll see that webinar budget in there. I assign my customer, and then the accounting side will be able to handle it from there, entering AP invoices, attaching purchase orders, running payroll, so on and so forth. If you guys are using things like our mobile products, those cost codes and classes that it's selected will limit entry in different parts of the system, so that, if you guys are using mobile and you're entering a time card, it'll limit the cost codes that are in here to make sure that they're only entering against budgeted cost codes and classes. So I'm going to go ahead and throw up, the Q&A slide here. My contact information is down at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and open up the questions, see if anyone has any questions that I can go through, and then go from there. If you do have, if you want to take another, more personalized look at this, you can definitely shoot me an email at dkilpatrick@foundationsoft.com, and I can go through it in a little bit more detail with you and kind of go from there. If you don't see your trade, like I said, in that McCormick or Edge trades, and we went through concrete, just know, again, we have that bulk import so that we can push items into the system and build out your assemblies. So this can be used for other trades, not just concrete, and we can build that out custom to your guys' needs. Yeah, so I had one person, can we make the view bigger when when in takeoff here on the build screen? Yes, so I can minimize the assemblies over here, and when I actually get into the builds, depending on the size of your screen, you can zoom in and out and make the screens a little bit bigger or smaller so you can see more of the actual build and zoom in and out. Probably better to kind of close the assembly tree so it's a little bit easier to view there. So another question here, will it have a seamless integration with other HQ suite items? So the Takeoff HQ is just going to link into Foundation. If you guys have something like Project HQ Accrue or Executive, it will have an indirect link to that, because when you push something into Foundation, Foundation will have that indirect link to then push out into the other system. So it'll be linked indirectly, but not just a direct link that'll push from Takeoff to Project HQ. But it will be linked indirectly. Are we able to change labor production values? Yes, we can change those production values in the actual estimate screen or on the item. So you guys can do those in the system, or you can do them on a job-by-job basis. And in case anybody was wondering about a recorded webinar, we will be sending out the recording for this webinar afterward. You should get that within you know, by the end of the day that you guys can share around to other team members and kind of go from there. Just give a little bit longer here. Just going to go back and put my contact information back up on the screen. Like I said, if you guys would like a more personal look, a live demo, you know, with just me and your team, you can email me at my email below down there, and I can get back with you and get a demo set up. Or if you just have any questions, you can shoot me an email as well. I'll go ahead and leave a couple more minutes here just to see if anybody has any other questions. And if not, we will go ahead and end it there. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in. So I appreciate everybody jumping on. Like I said, reach out with any questions and hope everyone has a great rest of your day.